Hello everyone, this is HuskyStarcraft here, back with some more StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm action. This time it's going to be between Semper down in the bottom left side, and his opponent down the bottom right side is going to be Jimrising. I'll probably just be calling him Jim, unless his name's Rising. I gotta be honest, sometimes people confuse me with their names. They mix in like 20 different names. We'll be calling him Jim. Rising is kind of cool as well. But anyways, it is going to be a TvZ, and for once we're going to be having purple versus yellow. Now, that actually brings me to my random topic I'm going to talk to you about at the beginning of this game, because we always got to talk about a little bit of something while the game is getting underway. But I kind of wish, I don't know what you guys think, maybe you can let me know, I kind of wish that on ladder you could get different color spawns instead of just red versus blue every single time, or at least when you're watching a replay had the colors randomized or something. I know it's such a minor thing, but I feel like red versus blue just gets a little bit bland, and you know, I think there's a lot of things that Blizzard can change that are small things that make the game more enjoyable to log into, and they've already done some of that stuff. I think adding the experience stuff is actually a lot of fun. Didn't really think I would like it that much at first, but now that I've used it a lot, the leveling up system is actually kind of cool. I highly recommend at least playing it a little bit once they fully launch that out. But anyways, I think another thing they could do is change the colors on the ladder games. I know why they do it. I know they do it because they don't want it to be confusing for newer players, and they just want it to be pretty easy to tell what's going on. And of course you get different colors in team games, but I'm just saying, it's at least fun for a caster, fun for a spectator to see different colors. I mean, like, how else are you supposed to get bright purple/pink little Zerg logos here? I mean, really, the only times you see custom colors is when the players are playing not on ladder, but playing in a custom game with each other. So one of these players hosted the game, the other one joined, and now they're duking it out, which means that they are most likely friends or taking part in a tournament. But I do believe on this game it is a friendly match between two different clans. We got FXO for one of them, which is a very well-known team there. So that is that. We do have a spawning pool going to be coming up for Mr. Jim, and he does have his evolution chamber on the way, and of course his hatchery. As would be expected here, hatchery first versus Terran is about as common as it gets. Semper does have his gas already, so this is going to be some sort of factory opener. Could be Widow Mines, could be Hellions, could be Widow Mine drops, could be Hellion drops, could be Banshee. This is really why going up against Terran with the early scout is so difficult to read actually what's going on. Because even if you see that gas, there is literally unlimited builds that they can go to try and pressure. It could be a one-base play to just really throw you off. Although with 400 minerals, I think it's going to be a Reaper Expand. Now, we have actually seen a lot more Reaper Expands. This is something that my good friend Mr. Bitter likes to talk about. I almost said Mr. Total Biscuit, and that was gonna be awkward. No, Mr. Bitter, who's actually one of my favorite people to cast with, he loves talking about the Reaper Expand. I don't know how he thinks about it now compared to what it used to be, because the Reapers are a lot more weak. However, you can get the Reapers much more easily and get off that scouting much more easily, because really, what are 4 Zerglings going to be doing against a Reaper? Not a whole lot. However, I've said it many times, but just to clarify, the Reaper does not do that much damage versus light units anymore. You can see that drone actually had time to escape there, and the Reaper's going to go ahead and hop up in the main base. Probably not going to be able to do too much. However, Reapers do regenerate their health out of combat, so if he is able to save this Reaper, then he will begin regenerating its HP. Now, with a little bit of micro, these Reapers are basically invulnerable. They're able to get a lot of scouting off. There he goes, going to begin regenerating that HP. The Overlord right here, gonna get taken out. However, he did see some very, whoops, hit the wrong key there. This is why I shouldn't cast in the dark. Hey, the Overlord's back. He is back from the dead, but sorry, the button for doing vision and going back 10 seconds is like right next to each other. So when I'm casting in the dark, which is kind of spooky, casting in the dark, I tend to mess that up. Anyways, the Overlord was able to spot a little bit as to what was going on. He saw this going on, so he's probably going to most likely know that there is an expansion because he didn't see a starport already or anything like that, because the command center did have to go down first. Now, we are actually having a economic Widow Mine opener. I'm kind of fumbling my words a little bit because we see one Widow Mine and a starport, so my guess is going to be Widow Mine drop, but at the same time he's also getting Marauder, so I'm not quite sure what this is. Could be a very aggressive build. Remember that Terran players now, before they had a lot of utility in the early game, now they have even more utility because they can get out those Widow Mines in those unit compositions, plus they can get out Reapers quite easily, so you'll see lots of wonky builds with Hellions, Widow Mines, Reapers, Marauders, Marines, Medevacs, all sorts of crazy stuff thrown in there in the early game. So definitely something to watch out for as Zerg. You have to make sure you have enough units, and there's really specific timing where you have to be so careful on how many drones you're making. Because say both your larva injects pop off, you have 8 larvae. If you make 8 drones and they decide to attack you and you have nothing to defend, you basically just lose. And that's a lot more prevalent in the mid game versus Terran, which is kind of what we're going to be transitioning into here in just a little bit, because we haven't had a 1-base rush or anything like that. So keep an eye on that drone count. Like right here. Right here is a timing that Terran player, if he was doing a 1-base build, could really make something happen. Whoa, that Widowmine there. The little derpy Widowmine not able to attack quickly enough. I think actually doing more damage to the Marauder than it did to the Zergling. But either way, that wave of like 10 to 11 drones we saw, that's always a risk for Zerg. That's why you have to scout a lot. That's why you're seeing that scouting Zergling go out there. That's why you're seeing the Overlord being sacrificed, because you want to know what is going on. Now, unfortunately, Jim does not know that if he scouts a little bit better with this Overlord, he could actually see every single thing that's going on just by skirting it over here, and it wouldn't actually even be detected because, remember, oh, we will see that command center, I think. It's going to be pretty darn close. There's the watchtower right there. Lings might actually take it out. They do manage to kill off that Reaper, which is unexpected. However, the Overlord does spot the command center right there, so he knows, you know what, there's no major attack coming anytime soon. Terran player is most likely going to be sitting back and macroing up using a couple of Widow Mines for defense. There is a minor drop over here with just 2 Widow Mines. This is not going to do anything effective with the Speedlings already following it. It might be able to drop at the expansion, because you got to remember that with that speed boost, medevacs are actually quite terrifying, so you never know when that's going to get popped right there. He's going to try and unload him. It looks like, nope, he's just going to skedaddle on out of there. You might as well try and do these drops. If the Zerg player is not paying attention, if the Zerg player hasn't made any units, then it will literally just, you can win by killing off all the drones. And I have seen it, drones transferring, if they're all clicked on the same mineral patch, they will detonate that Widow Mine and all die just from one shot. Widow Mines can kill an infinite amount of workers with just one shot. We've seen them kill something like 30 units at once. It's just ridiculous. But here comes the Mutalisk right now, going to be attacking the main base. Going for 2-base Muta here. Don't see this nearly as much, although you're starting to see it a little bit more now that Mutalisks have been recently upgraded in the expansion. Oh, if he can get that Tech Lab, that'd be huge. That is Stim Pack nearly done. The Widow Mines here, though, trying to find a good place to burrow to intercept these Mutas. So far, no luck on getting some splash damage off these Mutas, but the Mutalisks haven't really had that much luck either as far as the amount of damage they're attempting to do here to the main base. Trying to micro them back and forth, though. So far, good control by both players, minimizing the damage taken, not only to the economy, but also to the Mutalisks themselves. So they have been able to pick up a couple units here and there. A couple SCVs might be able to get a supply depot or 2. They do have to watch out for that missile turret, though, because it does so much damage there. You can see just how quickly it will take them out. Damage 12 times 2, so 24 damage per shot. Plus it attacks extremely quickly, 0.86. Looks like the medevac over here might get taken out, as it did unload its Widow Mines here in the middle, and goodbye, medevac. They may be watching that being like, oh, well, that really sucks. You do have to remember, though, that the medevac's not going to be serving as much of a purpose in the next couple of seconds, and also, if that's the amount of damage the Mutalisks did, then really you're coming out ahead if you're the Terran player, because really you're going to be relying on those Mutalisks to do more harassment than this. You can see the Zerg player is in the lead, but at the same time, if a lot of Marines or Widow Mines detonate on those Mutalisks, or the oh, right there. Notice how he did try and split that, though. That was actually pretty sexy. Good reaction times there, but you got to be careful with your Mutas, because you never know where those Widow Mines are going to be. You kind of have to scout it out with an Overseer first. So just a lot more steps in the Mutalisk harassment. You can see these Zerglings right here are just waiting. They are just waiting to get mauled to death by that Widow Mine. That is their one job, is to keep that Widow Mine off of cooldown. And you can see right here that Semper going to be landing at his third base, managing to actually expand there. Zerg player has established his third base as well. Mutalisk going to continue to harass, and honestly, delaying this gas is actually a quite nice touch. We've talked about this a little bit, where Terran players have a difficult time actually spending all of their gas because you have so many extra minerals, but not so much on the gas front. Although, it does look like Semper is very content going with lots of reactors on these barracks. So it's going to be a lot of Marines, which means that he doesn't need nearly as much gas, but still, it is a very valuable resource no matter which race you are, and so losing those refineries is always quite frustrating, because number one, I mean, you're losing the gas income, and number two, it's just extra APM you have to spend. Oh, those medevacs, they were very low on HP. A ballsy move there, and it does unload them everywhere, but wow, that was one of the most ridiculous mini-sized battles I've seen in a while. The medevacs just shot in there using the boost ability, and they almost all died, but then they were able to unload where the Mutalisks were going to be heading, and ended up working out, baiting them into that Widow Mine, which actually ended up evening it out. which means that Semper in that battle came out as the victor. So pretty interesting stuff so far in this game. I gotta say the builds are interesting, the playstyle is interesting, and the micro is pretty darn good. So I'm getting a little bit more excited the longer this game goes on. We do have combat shields now on the way. Obviously, lots of Marines being produced. You do not make that many barracks without making that many Marines. So Baneling's going to be following it up as well. So it does look like Baneling Muta going to be the unit composition of choice for our Zerg. A pretty solid unit composition, pretty common as well. Really throughout the history of StarCraft 2, we've seen this unit composition. Mutalisk right now, once again, going to be attacking the gas. It's just a minor nuisance, and he gets a couple of glaive bounces there to begin working down those workers, although you got to be careful with the mutas. Uh-oh, left them there a little bit too long, and the misclick on the destructible rocks. Never fun for anyone, although Mutalisks do have quite the speed boost in Heart of the Swarm. You can see a move speed of 4. That movement speed is literally just straight up 4. Marines are 2.25, so Mutalisks are almost twice as fast as Marines, and they fly. So you are able to escape from those sticky situations quite easily. The creep spread is doing okay. He could do a little bit better here, but at least he's working his way towards the center of the map. There's the scan, spots the mutas. Nice little touch there because the sensor tower is almost in range as well. You can see he put one down at that third base. But here comes the push from the Terran, the inevitable Terran push. Now we're going to see how these Widow Mines are utilized. The best way to do it is to leapfrog them like siege tanks so you have a safety net to fall back on if the Zerg player goes for this round, which here we go. The Widow Mines right there might be able to detonate a lot of these units, and they do go for the Mutalisks, but not for the more important Banelings in this situation. Usually you think the Mutalisks were the most important, but at this point the Banelings were what he needed to save. He managed to do it. Widow Mines do ridiculous damage versus Banelings, but not in this case. It does look like our Zerg player, though, ended up losing a lot to those Widow Mines, and I mean a lot. However, guess what? Jimrising, able to get up his 4th base now, has got decent gas income, double production on those gas geysers, and of course he will be able to get to those minerals anytime he needs, but for now he doesn't actually need that. I think all he needs is more larva. Yeah, he's currently low on larva. Currently 0 larva, actually, using them as quickly as possible, because when you go for Baneling Mutalisk, you're going to be burning through your larva super quick. That's just kind of how it is, and that's why you sometimes will see extra macro hatches. That's why you'll see players really focus on the inject larvas. And, you know, when all said and done, he's not doing too bad on the inject larvas. Has definitely missed a couple of them here or there, but as long as he can keep that larva count high, he's going to be in pretty good shape. But he definitely needs to be dumping this money into something, because when you go for Zergling, Baneling, and Mutalisk, your supply rises very slowly. Because think about it, I mean, Mutalisk costs very little supply. Zerglings are basically free in supply. And here we go, the Widow Mines do go ahead and burrow here. There's going to be a lot of dead Zerglings here in just a second. Huge, huge hits, and the Banelings as well. Widow Mines do so much damage, but guess what? You kill Banelings on top of Widow Mines, all the Widow Mines die, so all of a sudden the battle is going to be favoring Zerg there a little bit, at least in the center of the map. Every single one of those Widow Mines died from that Baneling explosion. That's something you got to be careful of. I actually recently played a mono battles, actually, where that was a problem. I was killing Banelings with my Widow Mines, and all my Widow Mines died, which is not fun for me, and definitely not fun for Semper, although Semper is still ahead in supply. We got a lot of drones being produced, which 5 actually at this stage of the game is quite a few. He's up to 80 right now, and a couple of more mixing in, but he is also adding on some additional buildings. A lot of spine crawlers would actually be very useful here, because the spine crawler is going to help deter those Widow Mines, because the Widow Mines do not detonate on buildings. They only detonate on units. And it does look like the army going to be moving out. 2 upgrades are done for Semper. Jimrising, what are his upgrades at? Doesn't have any upgrades on the way, but he does have 62 Zerglings. Not the most I've seen at once, but still a very large number of Zerglings are going to be on the way. He decides to go ahead and take the bait and run right on in. Remember, splash damage from Widow Mines can just be absolutely brutal. And there's the preemptive splitting. Kind of runs almost all the way home. And definitely not Demuslim-esque splitting. As Demuslim, he just kind of stands his ground and splits like crazy. But the Mutalisks over here ready to intercept could actually call out these medevacs if they're not careful, and they are not careful. Looks like they will get taken out. There are lots of Marines over here, though, actually managing to save that at the very last second. Here we go. Lots of Marines. Banelings mix in. Those Marines died quick. I was going to say he must have at least 2 upgrades on those Zerglings, and he does. We also have the Pathogen Glands on the way. The Adrenal Glands upgrade as well. Widow Mines trying to burrow. They just got sprinted past, though, and the Zergling surround is going to be ridiculous. The Mutalisks actually doing a lot more than we've seen in the past. This army is going to get destroyed. The Widow Mines not able to make anything happen. Zergling's going to be sprinting forward here. More Widow Mines going to be burrowing. Should be able to hold the line at least for a little bit, depending on what they detonate on. And the Zerglings all explode immediately. God, Zerg players really have got to watch their units, because if they run over... Wait, what do we got going on over here? Oh, Widow Mines running down to the expansion. We'll see if they manage to detonate. I think that they will. Yes, they do, but mostly hitting Lings there. Even though Widow Mines are very intelligent when it comes to what they're detonating on when they're activating, they can still sometimes go for a unit that's not going to be the best hit, and that I think going for the drones would have been best, but that is not how the AI works. Instead, going for those Zerglings. Now, we do have the medevac going to be sprinting over here. You know, I never used to think that I would say medevacs are sprinting, but I feel like that's exactly what it is. We have a drop prepared for the 5th base up here. Currently nothing mining up there, though. And honestly, I gotta say, Jimrising balancing his gas and minerals quite well. Unfortunately for Semper, has got a lot of gas, but not so many minerals at this point. He is going to be moving out with this army once again and still trying to make this Marine Marauder Widow Mine work. And it can work if you can get some decent detonations, but the Mutalisk right there, if they swoop in, snipe all those Widow Mines, and all of a sudden the Zerglings have got free reign over this army. 3 attack, 2 armor is done, but the 3 armor is just moments away. Zerg player nowhere near having 3-3 just yet, but the Fungals could be ridiculous. Managing to actually fungal the Widow Mines. The Queen there running up to finish off one of those medevacs, as the Spy Claws doesn't look like they're going to be finishing, but here we go. And the Zerglings are going to absorb a lot of the hits, but unfortunately the splash damage is ridiculous. It's always hard to tell exactly who wins those battles with just the explosions of those Widow Mines. So far, overall, though, units lost is about the same. A back-and-forth game, though, at that's the least I would say this game is. A very intense game. Now transitioning into getting more Infestors. So it's going to be Zergling, Baneling, Infestor, Mutalisk versus the Marine Marauder, Medevac, and Widow Mine, which I still think is a great unit composition. You just have to make sure to spread out those Widow Mines preemptively. You can't just be running them in. You really have to bait the Zerg player into doing it. Otherwise, this is what happens. Your army gets surrounded as the Zerg player is able to snipe that and then retreats in the 1 second it takes for those Widow Mines to burrow. They managed to back it up all the way home, and I gotta say, Jimrising's control in this game has been top-notch. I definitely do like Semper's playstyle, though, and nothing should be taken away from the fact that he's playing very well right now. It's just that the Zerg player is just playing so much better. Here comes the Zerglings right now to try and make it happen. Looks like the answer is no. We do have Marine and Marauder, though, trying to split up here. Unfortunately for them, that is no man's land. The medevac able to save her boyfriend. Everyone else is left for dead, so there's the Marine right there. Very, very lucky. We're going to keep an eye on him as he actually survived the inevitable. Here comes a bunch of changelings. This guy be scouting. I mean, at that point when there's that many changelings, is it even worth clicking on them? Because it's pretty obvious that they're fake. He decides that, yes, it is worth clicking on them. This guy right here is like, hey, I want to join in that fight. They don't let him, though, because they die in 1 hit, so that doesn't last very long. I have a feeling, though, well, this is going to be about like the Heart of the Swarm cinematic, where the Zerglings and Ultras just destroy everything. And that's exactly what's going to be happening. There's our little boyfriend Marine. We'll see if he... Oh, nope, he died. That was short-lived, as is to be expected. This army's going to go ahead and get out of there, or at least try to. I mean, there's really only so much you can do. Remember, Ultras are mighty terrifying, but then again, so are Widow Mines. It's one of those situations where both units are phenomenal, so which one comes out ahead, we'll just have to wait and see. We do have 3 battle cruisers on the way. A big drop over here at the top right side. This is going to be base number 5. So killing this off is a minor victory, but a victory indeed, and I don't know if this army's going to be able to get back in time. There's just not enough Zerglings on this map. Currently, he used to have hundreds, now not so much. We'll take a look here as he has 13 Zerglings. So those battle cruisers are on the way. Indeed, 4 of them are about to be done, and the Zerglings get a nice round here. Goodbye, medevacs. Again, though, it's one of those situations where it's kind of a sacrificial pair of units. You know, you killed a base. Those Marines have already done their job. There's some awkward long-distance mining going on. Got to wait for this hatchery to rebuild. So at that point, you can just sacrifice those, go back to your base, focus on the macro, and continue from there, especially once the battle cruisers are indeed operational. And remember that the armor upgrades affect both air and ground units if that is the mech upgrade. And so he could begin researching that, and that would even help his Widow Mines a little bit, which is just a minor thing, but all the little things can make a big, big difference, and those battle cruisers may be revealing themselves here relatively soon. 1 more battle cruiser on the way, but we also, more importantly, have the Ravens on the way. Seeker Missile has been changed, and the units do get it by default, but here comes the Mutalisk right now. They just got to make sure they don't get hit by a Widow Mine. We'll keep an eye on the Mutalisk as a ridiculous attack is about to take place. I don't think these Ultras are going to be able to do all that much because they're getting kited up that ramp. It's the reinforcing Infestors here that could make something happen, but no, the Infestors actually get annihilated by those battle cruisers, and the Mutalisk as well getting taken out, I believe, by the Seeker Missile. Is that what it was? Because they dropped. That was like the scene in Independence Day, man, where all the jet fighters get taken out, and in this case, the jet fighters just happened to be a bunch of Mutalisks which died immediately. So our Terran player able to hold on, but guess what? It's 135 supply to 174. That may be an overcommitment on the Corruptors, though. 27 Corruptors on the way. That is a lot, and it is going to bankrupt. No, actually, our Zerg's not bankrupt. I think he's just Larva bankrupt because well, no, he's got 42. So really, this game is still his game. He can reinforce this army, and it's got to come up to the Terran player to be able to destroy that. Now, he has been cost-effective in his engagements. He has got to be cost-effective in one more engagement. If he can be cost-effective in that next engagement, then he is going to be able to be tied. But right now, I mean, this is a lot of money in the bank for the Zerg. It is very evenly balanced on what type of units he can make because he's got even gas and even minerals. Plus, he has the base up now running there. But we also see Terran player up in the top left side. He's got a pretty good base. Here we go. More Widow Mines going to be activated, taking out lots and lots of Zerglings. Corruptors flying in, though. They know that they can do lots of damage to the Valkyries. That Seeker Missile was a pretty decent hit. The splash damage, though, is not unrecoverable as he's going to be flying in here. He needs to make sure to take out all these Valkyries right away. He does manage to Corruption ability going to be used, which makes him take additional damage. And it does look like the Corruptors are just going to kill everything in the skies. The Marines on the ground have definitely got their work cut out for them. Thankfully, the Corruptors, they do manage to avoid those Widow Mines. And the Overseer right there, I gotta say, I mean, honestly, the control by both these players is just so good. We do have a drop up here in the top center as well. Top right side, I guess. But this expansion just getting denied. Literally killing every single drone there, which is not going to be good news for our Zerg player. Although, is that really that bad of news? Because he's currently ahead. He's got 85, or is it 65? Sometimes hard to tell at those big numbers. Looks like it is going to be 65 drones, which is a little bit lower than you would like, but a nice surround there. And these units, a lot of them are going to go down as he is focused somewhere else for that minor battle. And our Zerg player still in the lead in supply. But like I was saying, if the Terran player was cost effective, which he was, all of a sudden our Zerg player does not have that many minerals. Yes, he had a nice little stockpile, but it was not enough to be able to fool around with. It was definitely not an unlimited amount of money, that's for sure. As the drop over here is eventually going to get cleaned up, but hey, now before the Marines kill off a drone or two extra, and that Queen's going to have to kill off the Marines, but hey, every little bit does add up, especially at this level of play. This is quite an impressive game. Definitely one of my favorite games so far in Heart of the Swarm, as we do have the Marine, Marauder, Battlecruiser, Raven, Medevac, Viking composition, got to be going up against the Zergling, Ultralisk, Infestor, Mutalisk, Corruptor composition, and Banelings. We've seen some of those so far. So right now our Zerg player's not making a whole lot as he is trying to deal with these drops, but you can see how important drops are in ZVT for the Terran player. It's so difficult to pull off. There's a lot of anti-air once these Corruptors and Mutalisks are out. The Zerglings are so quick, they can just move back and forth and intercept that. But guess what? Hello, free base. Looks like this army not in position to deal with this. The Banelings here trying to get a good detonation, but really these Banelings are just to buy extra time. I think those Lings are going to be wise to retreat out of here. Here comes the Widow Mines with the Baneling sprint right on past. Decides to go for the Widow Mines themselves, which ends up working out, evens up the supply by quite a bit. This Marine Marauder army is nice and squishy, though, as they have stemmed, I think, twice now. There it goes right there, as this army is split up. Nice Baneling detonation, but I gotta say, Semper not giving up without a fight. He's still hanging on. This has been one of the most non-stop games I've cast in a while. This is the Skittle Marines, though. We got red, yellow, orange, maybe a couple green Marines in there as well. So definitely taste the rainbow, but unfortunately, with his lack of medevacs, it might be difficult to heal these up, although he does have 5 medevacs on the way. And let's see, I think we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases with the 6th one on the way for our Zerg player. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases for Terran with a lot more command centers on the way. Dropping those down right now. And the invaluable sensor tower, these are always nice. Even if you end up losing them, at least you can get a couple of seconds of preparation time for those for the units to get in position with those watchtowers. You can see right there a nice scan. How did he even know that? I don't even know how he knew that those units were there, but he did decide to scan, see what was going on, and indeed spotted those Corruptors. So that was pretty ridiculous right there. Another scan goes down. Not quite sure where that is. Oh, at the expansion over here, he wants to know, is our Zerg player hiding one? He doesn't know that this expansion is back up, although he's got an inkling that it is, so he's going to go ahead and drop up there. He does know about this expansion as well. Here's a big battle in the middle, but this army is in perfect position to intercept. It looks like, though, Semper is going to establish his Widow Mines before moving in. A very smart play here because this drop could evacuate it. That's actually not going to happen. The Corruptors managed to clean that out, but guess what? Semper being very smart here, splitting up his Marine Marauder ball and intercept. Actually, he's going to kill off both bases here. It's not often you see a Terran player out micro a Zerg, but that is exactly what we're seeing, and baiting them into the Widow Mines. So Semper doing a lot of DPS with those Widow Mines and able to do a lot of damage to those Corruptors. Killing the Corruptors is absolutely vital And you can see right there, Seeker Missile's going to be doing it as well. And on the Infestors, able to take those out as well. But again, the supplies are tied. I feel like we're watching two identical AIs face each other, because after every battle, somehow the supplies are literally almost exactly the same. I mean, it was 150 to 150 there for just a second, and the Watchtower there shows these few units retreating. This poor Marine is like, I got this, and I got this. Oh god, that's an Ultralisk, because it does get one shot, and immediately sliced in half down there. But it does look like right now, the Ultra, he's got 9 kills, but he doesn't have many friends. That's kind of the problem, and Semper does indeed have a big bank right now. He's got 2,000 minerals, not so much on the gas. However, he just started making a battlecruiser, 5 medevacs, and even getting Terran building armor. So that's where all that additional gas went into. And we are having lots of Broodlords on the way for Jimrising. Remember, if you make Broodlords with the weakened Corruptors, they do spawn as full HP Broodlords. Just a minor little trick you can use there. But now it's starting to look a lot more Marine heavy and Widowmine heavy. Trying to be cost effective here. Does manage to burrow those Widowmines just in time to prevent this army from engaging directly. But the Infestors do get taken out. Whiffs on the Fungal. But it does look like those units are going to get taken out. And I gotta say, the control is just so good by both these players. And unfortunately for Rising, he's currently down about 40 supply here. For a second, it was about 60, which is kind of intense if you think about it. But the Fungals could be intense if he has enough energy for it. But the split so far from Semper looking pretty good. Can he actually engage us in the late game? It's got to be tough. There's also a drop moving out in the top center, so keep an eye on that. But it does look like the Ultras here are going to be evening the score a little bit, but he's still about 40 supply behind. Now up to 60 as he's continuing to make more and more units. Could drop right here and just kill a lot of drones. I think that's what he may be going for right now. A ridiculous battle. The battlecruiser over here, man, he's just chilling out. He doesn't even have to look at his opponent. And there's going to be the well played from our Zerg player. Ends up losing way too many units there right at the last second. You can see it there. The drop over here in the top right side, able to clean that up. But this was definitely one of my favorite games to date for Heart of the Swarm. So absolutely amazing game there, guys. Hope you guys enjoy it. I honestly don't think TvZ gets much better than that. Maybe a couple Vipers could have been used, but other than that wouldn't even been that. I guess Vipers could have worked. They could have worked on the Marine and Marauder. Not so good versus the Widowmines, but either way, one of the best games I have seen. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.